Welcome to Vice Casting Couch Podcast. I am Ryan, and joining me is John. This is episode 36 of season 1. How you doing today, John?
Man, I'm doing good. I didn't realize we made 36 episodes so far.
Yeah, they're all in season 1.
Hey man, season 1 keeps on going.
Season 1 forever. So I'm going to start with an article covering Meta. So Meta has said that AI profiles will be created and released on its platform later this year in 2025. Meta executive Connor Hayes said that, quote, they'll have bios and profile pictures and be able to generate and share content powered by AI on the platform, end quote. So they've already tried to do this in the past. They put a ton of bot profiles on their sites. You've probably seen their comments. They usually don't really make any sense or have anything to do with the content. I'm assuming they were hoping that people would interact with them and basically think that they were real or just like them. I'm not sure how they ever thought that was a thing, but fortunately, most people just ignored them, or they thought that they were spam accounts or whatever, which spam accounts are a whole nother issue on Meta platforms. They don't do a good job of keeping them off at all. But back to the AI profiles. If real people were ignoring them or just making fun of them and their stupid comments, I don't know why they would push this even harder coming up this year, but apparently that's their goal. According to journalist Jason Kobler, all of the bot accounts stopped posting and commenting a few months ago, and now we know why. Meta wasn't realizing that this was an awful idea, but rather they're updating them to be solely run by AI. And as if that wasn't cringy enough, Hayes also said that they plan on releasing the tools for other people and businesses to create their own AI bot profiles. So companies can create a persona on Meta of their company, and an AI bot will literally just run everything on the profile. Super weird. I don't think this is going to end well, but Meta will for sure keep trying.
I'm curious to see what malicious things come out of this. Like, someone's going to be spitting game at Little Debbie or something, talking about them oatmeal cream pies. And I feel like it's going to go downhill real fast.
I do not doubt it will. This has been tried so many times. What was that Google that had
Were you talking about Gemini?
No, not Gemini. It was before Gemini. There was a bot that you could interact with, and it ended up just being extremely racist because of all the people's inputs. I can't remember the name of the AI that
sounds about right. I don't remember either,
but because they let that have free reign, right? It was posting and it was saying like, "Oh, I feel so alive," and blah blah.
Well, they've been showing that even if you put like pretty good guardrails on these AIs, like there's still some way you can manipulate it to get it to say or do something you don't want.
Absolutely, yeah. No matter how careful they are about it, there's always a way, and they always end up horribly mangled. So I don't doubt that will also happen with this, or people will just continue to make fun of them. One of the bots of note that they made was named Liv, and apparently this bot, I don't know if this was coded into it or whatever, but it said it was a proud queer black mother of 2 who is a truth teller, whatever that is. This bot also posted a ton of pictures, a few of them showing her quote unquote kids, who, as you can imagine, looked super weird. Their hands looked like they got stuck in a garbage disposal, because all the media was created by AI. Obviously, this person doesn't exist. They're not queer or black or a mother of 2, and all of their stuff they posted was fake. It's super, super weird. I don't know. It's really strange and disrespectful.
I think the problem is they're trying to boost engagement and show advertisers like, hey, we got so many people using our site. But I think this is ultimately going to drive users away as people come there to talk to their friends or see what their friends are posting. That was the whole, concept behind social media. And the more you trying to either keep people on there looking at clickbait content, or the more you're trying to drive engagement, often through stuff like rage and whatnot,
Yeah.
I think it's just going to cause people to either like leave the platform or just not use it.
I completely agree. This is a complete opposite of what people use Facebook for. I mean, originally Facebook was for rating the hotness of women. That was the original purpose.
I think that's a precursor. It wasn't Facebook itself, but yeah, right. I get what you're saying.
That's what they came up with first, right? And then it was, this will be used for college students to connect, and then it became this worldwide connection platform, right? Social media. Obviously, Zuckerberg has stated several times that that's not really their goal anymore. Their goal is advertising and data aggregation. I mean, every decision they've made has driven this. So I'm assuming this has some sort of, like you were saying, the vector that they're coming from with putting all these bots in here is not for people to engage. It's to drive more either money or businesses to come on the platform.
Well, it's to drive engagement. It's supposed to keep people on there, keep people talking. That way they can be seen. They can see more ads, you know.
Well, sure, but it doesn't really work when they get ignored. And that's what happened the first round. They had like hundreds, if not thousands, of bot profiles, and people just ignored them. They didn't engage with them, or they just made fun of them. So I don't know. Maybe it's a any press is good press type thing. I'm not sure. It's just really weird. And again, all of these bots and their posts got pretty much ignored or made fun of. So Meta shut them down, and they reworked the coding algorithm behind them. I don't know what AI they're linking them to, but you can still chat with them. There was a journalist from the Washington Post, Karen Attia, and she started a chat with Liv, the one I mentioned before, because they wanted to see how they were trained. Through a series of questions, they got the bot to admit that they had no idea what a black person was or what queer meant. So I'm assuming that was just kind of forced on them by someone coding the bot. Which is weird, because wouldn't you want the bot to know what at least these basic terms are in their profile? But they asked them what their purpose was, and they said that their only function was data collection and targeting ads. So, because obviously it wouldn't be anything to actually make people's experience better, but like you said, engagement and data collection and ads. That's pretty much all their purpose is. Which is weird. I don't know how they're going to do that, but yeah, it's a good read.
Speaking of AI, I'm sure you've heard Deepseek has made a big splash in the news the last couple week or two.
Yeah.
The whole claim to fame for them is that they made an AI for $6 million that can beat ChatGPT's top tier O1 AI.
Yeah.
That's their reasoning AI, which costs billions of dollars. On the surface, that sounds like pretty incredible, but when you actually dig into it, there's a lot going on. One, the $6 million doesn't include hardware. I think it was only for training the model. Sure. And then there's allegations that DeepSeek kind of stole information from ChatGPT, which ChatGPT, has also allegedly stole people from others. So they stolen goods already.
Yep.
And then there's been, I guess, the database for DeepSeek got exposed with over 1 million log files or log lines being shown. There's also been cyber attacks against them. So it's just been a whole lot of craziness with DeepSeek. I will say it is impressive based off the benchmarks and everything. It looks to be pretty good at reasoning, which is the main intent behind this version, is that instead of just responding to you, it'll actually like pause for a second and kind of think about it. And people have actually shown the thinking prompts. So like some guy, he was like, can you code snake using Rust? And then it's like, okay, I don't know Rust that well, but I could probably use this library or this library. And then it kind of like chose a library, and it did put some code out there. The code wasn't 100% functional, but like it's pretty interesting seeing the direction of how all this AI is going forward.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
It's cool. I do like that they open sourced it. Now, this is just the model, obviously not the training material. None of that's open source because it scraped the internet and
stole from other stuff.
And stole from ChatGPT, yeah. But with it being open source, people could expand upon it, could tweak it, make it uncensored. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that there is, like, if you go to DeepSeek's website and you use the either the app on your phone or the web client, all that information is being sent back to their servers, and they do have like in their terms of service that like they can't go against the PRC, the Chinese government. So like if you ask it about Tiananmen Square or Winnie the Pooh or any of that stuff, it either gives you wrong answers, it doesn't know what you're talking about. Like it just doesn't work for those. People have talked about this for a while, that the way Meta and ChatGPT and Google and all that, they've been focusing on just throwing as much horsepower at what they already have to make it go faster.
Yeah.
Where people were saying you could use novel engineering techniques and use less money and make something just as good, if not better, which is what happened here.
So do they have like an end goal for this? Are they going to try to compete with ChatGPT, or are they going to sell the model, or do they have a goal in mind?
I don't know too much behind Deepseek themselves. I know they're like, this was supposedly a side project from a quant firm.
Oh,
and
okay. So it's like a proof of concept,
I guess, but it looks pretty good. So I'm curious to see if it's just like a AI Cold War that's going on at the moment.
Sure, yeah. Well, I have a story here about Microsoft. They are not having a very happy new year. According to StatCounter, which includes stats from 230 countries, Windows 10 is still over 60% of people's OS of choice compared to Windows 11, which only has 34%. And this is even considering that Windows 10 only has less than a year of support left. And people are still choosing to stick with 10 over 11. One reason that was brought up is 11 does require somewhat newer hardware to run. That was one of the issues that was cited. Also, there's been a ton of complaints about 11. And this was proven by the usage numbers steadily climbing for 11 when Microsoft pushed the options to give it a try it out, and you can revert back if you don't like it. And pretty much all those people reverted back and went straight back to Windows 10. So Microsoft is going to have to pick an option here, I think. Either stop supporting Windows 10 as planned and hope that people are just forced to migrate, which I think is what they're going to choose, or they can extend support for Windows 10 and try to keep their users happy with what they have, and then just kind of slowly, as new machines come out and people buy new hardware, Windows 10 will already be implemented on those. So I don't know. We'll see what they go with. I'm assuming they're just going to stop support. Maybe they'll extend it a little bit, but I don't see them extending it for that long. I've used both, obviously Windows 10 and Windows 11. I don't see too much difference between them. I will say Windows 11 is much harder to work on, like as an IT person. I prefer Windows 10 to Windows 11. Specifically for the freaking control panel. I don't know why they hate the control panel so much, but I hate their settings app. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what Microsoft does. But again, if you do have Windows 10, the support for it is supposed to sunset at the end of this year. So just keep that in mind.
It's funny you mentioned that. My job has asked me to kind of look into some of this stuff about Windows 11. You mentioned control panel. This has been a thing Microsoft's been doing for a while now. They're slowly, even in Windows 10, they were doing this. They're slowly trying to pivot everything from control panel into the settings app.
Yep.
Now, it's not 100% there, but it is anticipated that one day control panel will no longer be there. The other big thing, from what I've gathered, under the hood, Windows 11 really isn't that much different. There's a fancy UI put on it. The start menu's moved. There's rounded edges. You have tabs and a couple more, the default applications. There are some security improvements with like virtualization-based security.
Mm-hmm.
So I will give them credit for that. But overall, I think this is just a way for them to make money. If you look at the CES event that happened, all the big companies such as Nvidia and Intel and AMD, I think Microsoft talked to all of them because this is supposed to be like the year of Windows 11, like the upgrade your PC year.
Yeah.
And I don't see Microsoft backing off, as this will cause people to have to buy more hardware, which will ultimately get them money, because even though you're buying it from Lenovo has to pay, X% for the licensing. I see this as a way to get money and also more data collection. There is a lot more telemetry and AI features they're putting in there. I know a lot of people have been upset about the whole open recall, or not open recall, the Copilot.
Yeah.
Is it Copilot AI?
Yeah, the Copilot
that they're pushing. So we'll see. I'm not going back to Windows anytime soon. especially with all the stuff they've been doing. I think this is just going to drive more people away. As we've seen with the Steam Deck and everything, Linux has been growing quite good, and then also Apple still has a pretty strong hold on their customers as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I haven't seen too much difference besides like what we talked about, them kind of like slimming down how much you can actually change on Windows. Like you talked about Linux. I mean, there is Linux versions that look very similar and function very similar to Windows. You may have to do a little more work and compatibility type stuff, but if you do want to switch over from Windows and don't want to have to pay for a license and deal with all the crap that they stuff into their OS, there are versions out there that make it pretty easy to switch over to Linux. So just keep that in mind.
Well, I'm gonna go on my rapid fire round if that's cool with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm gonna talk about a bunch of articles. I'm gonna keep it real short. So Dell announced they're gonna discontinue using the XPS branding. This also expands to the Precision, Latitude, but I guess they're moving to a model where there's Dell computers, there's Dell Pro for professionals, and then I think there's like a Pro Max. But they're getting rid of all the common names we're used to, like Optiplex and stuff like that. The other one I wanted to talk about real quick, Netflix is raising prices again. They're going to raise prices by about $2.50 a month for all plans. So be ready for that.
Yep.
Nvidia, I know last week we kind of talked about GPUs a little bit, but the 5090 and 5080 have been released, and the 5090 looks pretty good. It costs a ton of money, but it is fast. I will give them that. It's about 30% faster than last generation. There has been questions. Is that because there's 30% more CUDA cores in there? There's that to look at. It does have a lot more AI cores, so they are banking on AI pretty heavy for their frame generation, their DLSS 4. So instead of rendering a real frame and then kind of making a fake frame to smooth the game out, it'll actually render a real frame and then 2 more fake frames. So that way you get those crazy numbers like 500 FPS that they were talking about.
Yeah.
The 5080, while fast, kind of the reviewers didn't like it nearly as much because they say it's not even as good as what Nvidia was claiming. Nvidia was saying 5080 will beat the 4090, and really it's more like a 4080 or 4080 super, if you will.
Sure.
Like it's kind of fast, but like it's also very expensive, and a lot of people are upset with the amount of RAM it has. I think Nvidia is getting a little complacent. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like they're just keeping up with the release schedule rather than something.
Well, this release actually took longer than the previous releases. I think this was 23 months, where the previous ones were like 18, 19 months. I get that Moore's Law is coming to an end, so it's getting harder to make smaller chips and whatnot.
Sure, yeah.
But I also think they have so much money, and they know they're the market leader, that, we'll just put something out that's a little bit fast, especially at the top end, and then everyone will see us as king, and they'll just get all our stuff.
The Apple model.
Kind of, yeah.
We have a new camera and new colors, and it's full price. Nothing else has changed, but you should buy it.
I think they could have won
sounds
over.
like to me.
Yeah, I think the 5080 could have performed better if it had 24 gigs of VRAM.
Yeah,
because right now it only has 16, I believe, which isn't really an upgrade. And with what they're saying about being 4K ready and all that, you kind of need more VRAM nowadays. The AI performance is really well. People have used it for like large language models, especially the 5090, and that seems to do really well. And they're also banking on a lot of more AI features for video games. That could be their angle. Maybe they're trying to pivot it more towards the AI instead of the traditional rasterization. But,
sure.
The other thing about Nvidia is they're winding down support for your older cards. This includes stuff like the 1060 and the 750 Ti. They put out in their latest release that all the CUDA support for this is frozen now and will not be in the next release. So be ready for that.
Wow, that's pretty surprising to me because I still know a lot of people that have the 10 series graphics cards, and they're still going pretty strong, and they like them. Yeah, that's pretty surprising.
Well, especially the 10 series. They did such a good job with the 10 series that the article even mentioned the 1060 is still holding the number 12 spot on Steam's hardware survey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That there's so many people that still use them. I know at least a dozen people that still use them personally, and they love them. Like, they still work really, really well. I don't know why you would end support. I mean, obviously, to get you to upgrade, but...
Well, they are almost 10 years old, I believe.
Sure,
8 to 10 years.
But that's still a huge part of your market share, though. I don't know.
I'm saying they'll still have that driver. I think it's just they're not developing it anymore. So, like, You're just not going to get all the fancy features that come up. The next one, real quick, Raspberry Pi released their 16 gigabyte Pi 5. So for $120, you can get a 16 gig Raspberry Pi 5.
$120. It's a little pricey for a Raspberry Pi, but okay.
It kind of makes sense. Like, they have been coming up in price, but they also have been adding more memory. Like, I get memory costs money. I remember when Raspberry Pis first came out, they were holding strong on that $35. You can get a little single board computer.
Yeah.
Now, like, I might just buy an old, used Office system that's faster, and I can upgrade with way more memory. In the last video with the Dell Optiplex 3050 Micro, the one I put LibreBoot on,
yeah,
that thing, I'm saying it's a 4-core i5, my bad. But heck, I have 32 gigs of RAM in there, and I can put an M.2 and a SATA drive in there without having to buy any of the other accessories that I would with a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because you got to think with the Pi, okay, I buy the $120 little board, but now I got to get a case and a power cable, and then I got to get now you need a heatsink because they're so fast, and I need a SD card or the M.2 hat, and this, that, and the other. Next thing you know, like, this thing's about $200. Like,
yeah. Way more than the Raspberry Pi is worth.
Nothing. I love the Raspberry Pi. I love what they're doing, but the price just makes me look elsewhere sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The other one real quick I wanted to talk about, I guess at the Chaos Computer Club conference that was hosted in Germany, some people discussed that hackers could be able to attack the European power grid.
Ooh.
I guess there's this system where they use radio waves to do a lot of things, such as controlling streetlights, but also to help even the power load between different power stations. All this stuff can easily be attacked with simple radio waves. They found that if you can do a simple replay attack, that you can, turn the lights off. You can potentially even disrupt the power at these power stations. So pretty interesting. I put the link in the description, so take a look at it. But it's crazy to think all the systems that we rely on are so vulnerable.
It's crazy that such large infrastructure like that is not more heavily guarded, because it's the same thing with like the cell towers. I don't know if you've seen those videos of people getting into cell towers and like spoofing people's phones and intercepting like text messages and phone calls. It's super easy because the protocols they use are really old and they're insecure. Just the way that they run is just very, very basic. I don't know. That's very strange to me that that's just kind of left open because they just assume that nobody would try.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy because they talk about you could use the Flipper Zero to cause problems. So.
Yeah, that's insane. If a flipper is able to disrupt your power supply, you have huge issues.
I didn't do a deep dive into it because there's a lot to unpack, but if you want, look at the article. You can also look at their talk. I believe it's uploaded. Pretty interesting stuff.
Well, speaking of interesting stuff, Apple users, if you want a cool $20, you can hop on litigation against Apple. So Siri-enabled devices purchased between September 17th, 2014 and December 31st, 2024. And the reason is Apple has admitted in court that those devices at that time were listening and recording any and all conversations within earshot and then using that data for targeted ads. Now, Apple, of course...
So the conspiracy theories were right?
They were absolutely correct. Now, Apple, of course, claimed that this was not their fault. It wasn't supposed to be this way, blah, blah, whatever. But the fact remains that this has now been proven in court. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had, like you alluded to, where people defend companies like Apple and Amazon and Google, and they say, well, there's no proof that actually they're listening in or they're recording all your conversations. Well, here you go. This is actual proof that has been proven, and they admitted to it as well. Not only this, but there was a whistleblower back in 2019 who said that Apple sends Siri recordings to third-party companies to gauge useful data and responses, and that they regularly hear private conversations and private moments, like people having sex or talking to their doctor about medical conditions. And apparently Apple knew this was going on and didn't do anything about it. That was the allegation then. Now we know that could possibly be true. In my opinion, $20 is also super low. That is per device, by the way. I think it's up to 5 devices. So maybe a little more than $20. Yeah, is super, super low. I think their fine was like a couple $100 million or something around there. Kind of a drop in the bucket type thing, wrist slap, which for doing something blatantly illegal is wild. But again, they don't claim culpability. They said that this was something that wasn't supposed to be happening. They didn't know fully about it. It was a third party that was actually doing it. It's just super ambiguous. But yeah, we saw the same thing with like YouTube exploiting kids for their data. It's nothing new that these big companies usually just get a slap on the wrist. But if you do want proof of it happening, though, this is your proof. And obviously I'll put all the links to it in the description. But yeah, it was actually proven that the companies are listening to you, recording it, and then sending it out for their profit.
It was crazy. So many people have kind of substantially proved this by maybe not with like direct evidence, but just circumstantial, saying,
yes,
watch this. Don't type anything in. We're going to talk about X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And then give it like 24 hours. You're going to start seeing ads for those.
Yeah, and a lot of those people were like, oh, that's stupid. That doesn't happen. You must have searched something at some point, blah, blah, blah. They are absolutely correct. That does happen. It was now proven in a court of law that it does indeed happen.
Real quick, I want to mention that the FreeDesktop.org, the site that hosts Wayland and Xorg and stuff like that, I guess they're losing their free credits for hosting, and they have to find another hosting company pretty quickly. And I guess this won't be that easy because I think it was, 50 terabytes of bandwidth per month is what they would burn through, which I think if you do the math, it comes out to about $24,000 a month. They have until April, but after that, they will have to find somewhere else. So this could potentially cause a big blow for the Linux and open source community, because almost every Linux like desktop uses either X or Wayland or some of the stuff that they host.
That's a lot of data.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Another thing I really wanted to talk about briefly was there was a VPN backdoor found recently, specifically in Juniper switches. And it was pretty interesting, this backdoor, as it was very passive. It was stored only in RAM, and it would kind of hide out and wait for what is called a magic packet, which is like this encoded string hidden in your normal TCP traffic. And once it would receive that, then it would actually issue a challenge before letting the person in. So they would send an encrypted like key back to the person who sent the magic packet, and then if that person responded with the correct plain text from that RSA key, then it would give them access. I guess this has affected 36 organizations, and they still don't know how the backdoor got installed. But if it's that in depth, I imagine it's probably a nation state, maybe.
Yeah, some sort of.
I'm speculating here, but.
Some sort of APT, I'm assuming. Something that technically involved.
Yeah, I guess so. Like they said, they were impressed with how hidden they tried to make this. So like I said, because it runs only in memory, it requires a special key to even get access through this magic packet, which is already hidden in other traffic.
You said VPN. Is that like a company or like self-hosted VPNs?
This is an enterprise VPN that's running on the Juniper network switches.
I see. Okay.
Or maybe not switches, but the Junos OS that's on their product.
Yeah. So the integrated.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe something in manufacturing. I don't know. That's a
it could be a supply chain. It could be something else. Yeah. Who knows? There wasn't a whole lot of detail on.
That's crazy.
What's behind it, but it is discovered, and it has been found to affect 36 organizations. So if you have a Juniper switch or Juniper products, maybe look into it and See if you're affected.
Well, do you have any other rapid fire articles for us, John?
Oh, you want rapid fire, huh?
I'm just asking if you do. You know,
let me see. Oh yeah, we have Tencent. They released their new uncensored AI video model.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, it's pretty good, and it's can run on consumer hardware and can be fine tuned.
Oh, interesting.
I imagine there will be a bunch of malicious use cases for an uncensored AI model.
Oh yeah, especially coming from Tencent. I'm sure it's fine.
But some of the videos look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it looks decent. You got Will Smith eating spaghetti. I know that was a classic.
Oh yeah, give the people what they want.
And then I think that's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.